way to get past the world number one. She wouldn't allow it. And it's the perfect start to the season for this supremely talented player.
Yeah, another incredibly impressive week from Aryna Sabalenka. Really, from start to finish, hasn't dropped a set, and that final performance there, again, she just showed why she's the world number one, didn't she? She just had a little bit too much firepower for Marta Kostyuk, but lots of positives to take for the Ukrainian. Had a fantastic week, and really...
Aryna Sabalenka just won the Brisbane final, but instead of celebrating, she looked like she wanted the ground to swallow her whole. Marta Kostyuk refused to shake her hand at the net, and while Sabalenka tried to play it cool, the tension was thick enough to cut with a knife. This wasn't the first time, and it definitely won't be the last. Do you think players should be forced to shake hands regardless of personal beliefs, or should they have the right to refuse? Drop your thoughts in the comments.
Thank you very much, Lord Mayor. Now, unfortunately, in a final, there can only be one winner. So please put your hands together for our finalists today. Marta Kostyuk, well done, Marta, on making it through to the final.
So let's talk about what went down in Brisbane, because this situation is way more complicated than just a refused handshake. Aryna Sabalenka dominated the WTA 500 Brisbane final against Marta Kostyuk, walking away with another trophy to add to her collection. You'd think that would be the story, right? World number one does her thing, wins another tournament, business as usual. But nope, the real drama happened after the final point, when Kostyuk once again refused to shake Sabalenka's hand at the net.
I want to say a few words about Ukraine. I play every day with a pain in my heart, and there is thousands of people who are without light and warm water right now. It's minus 20 degrees outside, so it's very, very painful to live this reality every day. And you know, it's very hot here in Brisbane, so it's difficult to imagine this, you know, but my sister is sleeping under 3 blankets because of how cold it is at home, so I was incredibly moved and happy to see so many Ukrainian fans and flags this week too.
Now, before anyone jumps in with the whole "it's just good sportsmanship" speech, we need to understand why Kostyuk keeps doing this. It's not because she woke up that morning and decided to be petty. This has been her stance since 2022 when Russia invaded Ukraine. And yeah, Sabalenka is Belarusian, not Russian. But Belarus has been Russia's biggest ally in this whole mess. So for Kostyuk and other Ukrainian players, shaking hands with Russian or Belarusian players feels like pretending everything is fine when it absolutely isn't. The thing is, Sabalenka has been pretty vocal about not supporting the war. She's said multiple times that no Russian or Belarusian athlete supports what's happening. Back at Roland Garros in 2023, she literally said that if they could stop the war, they would. But it's not in their hands. Which, fair point. It's not like Sabalenka is out here making political decisions for Belarus. She's just trying to play tennis and apparently getting punished for where she was born.
I mean, it's their position. What can I do? And I don't mind that. I don't care about that. And when I go into the match, it's all about tennis and sport. And when I go out there, I think about my tennis and things that I have to do to get the win. It doesn't matter if it's Marta Kostyuk or Jessica Pegula there. I still go out there and I still try my best and I'll fight for the trophy. I have nothing to prove, and I go there and I just compete as an athlete.
But here's where it gets messy. While Sabalenka's words sound good, actions speak louder, and for Ukrainian players who are living through actual hell, those words probably feel pretty empty. Kostyuk isn't just making a symbolic gesture for the cameras. Her sister is literally sleeping under 3 blankets because there's no heat in her home. Thousands of Ukrainians are dealing with temperatures of minus 20 degrees without electricity or hot water. People are dying. So, yeah, refusing a handshake might seem dramatic to people watching from their comfortable homes, but for Kostyuk, this is her way of making sure the world doesn't forget what's happening while we're all busy watching tennis matches. The tournament organizers in Brisbane clearly knew this was coming because they made sure there wouldn't be a joint photo of the finalists with their trophies. They didn't want the awkwardness of Kostyuk and Sabalenka standing next to each other, forcing smiles for the camera. Smart move, honestly. Can you imagine how uncomfortable that would have been? The whole thing was set up to minimize the tension, but you can't really avoid it when the issue is this huge.
Well, I don't know. It's tennis, it's sport, and that's why it's so beautiful, because you cannot predict anything. It's like every day you go out there and you prove your level, you prove your point, and I think this week I did it really well. But nobody knows what's going to happen in the future. But the only one thing I'm sure is that I'll be there. I'll be fighting. I'll do my best to go as far as possible and do a little bit better than I did last year. And that's where is my focus. My focus is on my game, on developing myself and making sure that I'm strong and healthy heading to the AO.
After Kostyuk got her runner-up trophy, she used her speech to remind everyone about Ukraine. She talked about playing every day with pain in her heart, about people freezing without basic necessities, about her sister bundled up in blankets just to stay warm. She thanked the fans for bringing Ukrainian flags to the tournament. It was raw, it was emotional, and it definitely overshadowed the usual "thanks to my team and my sponsors" kind of speech you normally hear. Then Sabalenka had to give her winner's speech, and you could tell she was trying to handle it delicately. She congratulated Kostyuk and her team, wished her the best, said she hoped they'd meet in more finals. It was gracious, it was professional, and honestly, what else could she say? She can't fix the war, she can't change where she's from, and she's already stated she doesn't support what's happening. But those words probably felt hollow in that moment, standing there with a trophy while Kostyuk just talked about her sister freezing at home.
It was an interesting celebration from Sabalenka. She kissed her biceps while looking at her team, and I thought for sure that was a reference to Marta Kostyuk's comments when she blamed her winless streak against Aryna and Iga on them potentially having more testosterone. Aryna was asked about this in her post-match press conference, and she denied it being sort of a dig at her opponent.
The celebration at the end, can you just tell me, the kissing of the biceps, was there anything in particular behind that, or?
No, I think because during the game I made a lot of aggressive, heavy winners. I want to see the speed, so I was just making fun with my team.
So nothing in response to any discussions of... No.
You just made that up!
Now let's be real for a second. This isn't the first time Sabalenka has been denied a handshake, and she won't be the last Belarusian or Russian player to deal with this. Lizia Tsurenko refused to shake Sabalenka's hand at the 2024 Australian Open. Elina Svitolina does the same thing out of respect for Ukrainian soldiers and to keep the conversation about the war alive. This is a pattern, and it's not going away anytime soon. The title of this script mentions Coco Gauff, and there's a reason for that. Remember when Gauff had her whole thing with American crowds booing at matches? She handled it with grace, addressed it head-on, and basically shut down the negativity without making it about her. She managed to navigate a messy situation while keeping her composure and not making anyone feel worse. That's the comparison here. Sabalenka is trying to do the same thing, trying to be professional and gracious, despite being put in an incredibly awkward position over and over again. But unlike Gauff's situation, which was about crowd behavior, this is about a literal war, which makes it about 1,000,000 times more complicated. Some people think Kostyuk is being unfair to Sabalenka. After all, what's Sabalenka supposed to do? Renounce her citizenship? Stop playing tennis? Publicly trash her own country and potentially put her family in danger? That's a lot to ask of anyone. But on the flip side, what's Kostyuk supposed to do? Smile and shake hands and pretend everything is normal while her country is being and there's no good solution. Some tournaments banned Russian and Belarusian players entirely, like Wimbledon did in 2022. That caused its own set of problems because those players lost ranking points and opportunities through no fault of their own. Other tournaments let them compete, but made them play as neutral athletes without their country's flag. That feels like a compromise, but it also feels like sweeping the issue under the rug. What makes this whole thing even more awkward is that Sabalenka genuinely seems like she doesn't want to be involved in the politics. She just wants to play tennis. But unfortunately for her, she doesn't get that choice. Her nationality is political, whether she wants it to be or not. Every time she steps on court, every time she wins a tournament, every time she gives an interview, she's representing Belarus whether she's trying to or not. That's the reality of being a high-profile athlete from a country involved in a war. Back at Roland Garros 3 years ago, when Kostyuk first refused the handshake, the crowd actually booed her for it. Can you believe that? Here's a woman whose country is being invaded, whose people are dying, and the crowd booed her for not wanting to shake hands with someone from an allied nation of her country's aggressor. That's wild. It shows how little people understood about why she was doing what she was doing. They saw it as poor sportsmanship, instead of a political statement and a cry for help. Thankfully, the crowd in Brisbane seemed more understanding this time around. Kostyuk mentioned seeing Ukrainian flags in the stands, and people cheered for her speech about the situation back home. Maybe the world is finally getting it. Or maybe people are just used to it now. Either way, at least she wasn't booed for standing up for her country. The comparison to Coco Gauff in the title is interesting because both players are dealing with situations way bigger than tennis, but they're handling them in their own ways. Gauff chose to address the crowd issue directly and educate people. Sabalenka is trying to navigate an impossible situation with grace while probably feeling like garbage every time someone refuses to shake her hand. Neither approach is wrong, they're just different responses to different circumstances. Some people argue that sports should be separate from politics, that athletes should just play and leave the real-world issues at the door. But that's naive. Sports have always been political. From the Olympics to World Cup qualifications to where tournaments are held, politics and sports are constantly intertwined. Asking Ukrainian players to ignore their country's suffering for the sake of sportsmanship is asking them to be less than human. At the same time, asking Sabalenka to somehow fix everything or be punished with public humiliation every time she wins isn't fair either. She's stuck in a position where no matter what she does, someone is going to be mad at her. If she speaks out too strongly against Belarus, she could face consequences back home. If she doesn't say enough, people will accuse her of being complicit. If she tries to stay neutral, both sides will be unhappy. There's literally no winning move here. The handshake denial has become symbolic at this point. It's not really about Sabalenka as a person anymore, if it ever was. It's about keeping the conversation alive, making sure that every tournament, every match, every victory is tinged with the reminder that there's a war happening. People want to enjoy tennis, want to watch great matches, want to celebrate athletic achievement. But Kostyuk and the other Ukrainian players are making sure you can't fully enjoy it without remembering what's happening in Ukraine. And honestly, that's probably the point. Sabalenka's reaction to all of this has been pretty measured. She doesn't lash out, doesn't complain publicly, doesn't make herself the victim. She acknowledges the situation, expresses her own views against the war, and moves on. That takes a lot of emotional control, especially when it keeps happening over and over. You can tell it bothers her, how could it not? But she's not making it worse by getting defensive or angry. The organizers trying to avoid the joint photo was smart but also kind of sad. It shows that this is now just expected, that the tennis world has accepted that Ukrainian and Russian or Belarusian players can't be in the same frame together. That's been normalized, which is both practical and depressing. We've gotten to a point where tournament organizers have to plan around geopolitical conflicts during award ceremonies. That's where we are now. Looking ahead, this isn't going away. As long as the war continues, Ukrainian players will likely continue refusing handshakes. And as long as Russian and Belarusian players keep competing, they'll keep being put in these awkward positions. The Australian Open is coming up, and you can bet this exact same scenario will play out again if these players meet. More denied handshakes, more uncomfortable moments, more speeches about freezing Ukrainians and political statements disguised as sportsmanship debates. The whole situation just sucks for everyone involved. It sucks for Kostyuk, who has to carry the weight of her country's pain every time she steps on court. It sucks for Sabalenka, who keeps getting treated like she personally started a war. It sucks for fans who want to enjoy tennis without feeling guilty. It sucks for tournament organizers who have to navigate impossible political situations. There's no good guys and bad guys here. Just people stuck in an awful situation trying to do what they think is right. So that's the mess we're dealing with in professional tennis right now. Handshakes have become political statements, and nobody's really winning. If you think there's a better way to handle this whole situation, I'd genuinely love to hear it because this current approach isn't making anyone happy. Don't forget to like and subscribe if you want more tennis drama breakdowns.